Dude, I had to push the button twice. And it's only streaming, not recording. Which is...
I think what happened is you may have pushed it twice. You may have just dicked up the timing and didn't give it enough time to start streaming. Anyway.
It's streaming now.
I can do both things separately here, so I can correct the not recording issue as well. You're standing... Nope. Hooked on the bottom there. Oh, where's the chat? There you are. Okay. This morning we're going to do a show that I don't want to do. Let's do this. Yeah, let's do it. Morning.
I think you need to...
Do you need some more? Do you need some more face?
That's one way to put it, I guess.
All right. Okay, good morning.
I feel like we just talked about this, and yet there's so much more to talk about. And Chris doesn't want to talk about it. Chris hates doing...
And I'm going to tell you why. I'm tired of talking about it because it's the only thing anybody's talking about right now. It's dominating news cycles. And I don't mean this topic, this exact... I don't mean the Tennessee drag ban, right? It's not that's dominating the news cycles. I mean, okay. We have a problem. We have a huge problem in this country. The transgender woke ideology is a social contagion that is killing children. Okay? Transgender identification comes with it a 40% suicide rate, which is not mitigated, per the data, is not mitigated by the so-called gender-affirming care. Turns out, if you take somebody who's suicidal and then you chop their genitals off, it doesn't make them less suicidal. At all. Now, in fairness, the data on this is relatively young. We haven't been collecting data on the phenomena itself at nearly the record rate of occurrences for more than a few years because it simply hadn't happened, right? The sudden dramatic spike, especially in young girls, identifying as the opposite gender and then seeking out so-called gender-affirming care, which I don't even like the terminology. We'll get back to that in a minute. The reason that I'm so aggravated about hearing about it and talking about it is that is precisely how that contagion spreads. That is what a social contagion is, right? You're basically talking about a function that's related to Munchausen's by proxy, where a person is bombarded with uncontradicted or otherwise controverted information that makes them question their own reality. The constant questioning of a person's gender and sexuality by all of their peers and surrounding media is the thing that's causing the psychosis of gender confusion.
You know what else hasn't popped out in the data yet, but is beginning to? Detransitioners.
Enormously. Yes.
Like, that's going to be a thing. And for all those people that say, obviously none of you in this chat, but for the people that are like, oh, trans women are women and trans men are men, and no, they're not, okay? But, oh, no, puberty blockers are largely reversible.
No, they're not.
They're not. They're not. They're literally a flavor of chemical castration drugs that most states consider cruel and unusual punishment to use on rapists.
Right. The only reason, it is literally the only reason that these same drugs are not used as part of the sentencing for convicted serial rapists is because it has been deemed constitutionally to be cruel and unusual punishment.
Well, it's like yesterday when I said, oh, they call it top surgery, but if you're a woman, with breast cancer and you have a double mastectomy, that's a tragedy. But if a 13-year-old girl does it because she's confused about her body, hey, newsflash, the majority of teenagers are confused about their bodies. That shit is confusing. But it's the language thing. Well, it's gender affirmation surgery. No, it's not.
It's psychosis affirmation surgery.
Yeah, it's the opposite of affirmation. If you were affirming, like, in all seriousness, I'd say breast implants are gender affirmation surgery.
That you're literally going in to have your genitalia disavowed.
Oh, let's say hey to some people just super quick. We skipped over that, and then...
Okay. Well, Stryker had first blood this morning. And I see Up and Out blames Gates. That's hilarious, and you're not wrong. At least not entirely wrong. I think Gates might have gotten a little too much rice in his diet. Alex Jones will be on Bannon's War Room at 11. I may have to check that out, because I tell you what, good, bad, right, or wrong, Jones is hilarious. FTP, good morning to GCM. And...
Fit Life with Danielle, good morning.
Danny shared some info. That must have been before we were actually live because I missed it. Good morning, Scrimshaw Rose. Royster's with us. Good morning. And I see some Steve. Got some Steve in there and a little more Danny. And there's my mother. Good morning. Population control and genocide. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. My mother. We are a family that loves some babies. I see Brian Dawson's with us. As a medic, I feel that mass psychosis fits better than Munchausen by proxy. I'd have to dig into that a little bit we're not going to get that far down that particular rabbit hole this morning because we are actually going to talk about the bill and how it's being misinterpreted and misrepresented.
There was also a Dave who
says he sent us something in Facebook.
There's Dave, and then there's Jeff Goldblum's Silent Fart Finds a Way, and if we missed you, so sorry. Good morning to all. Steve said something that that's true. That they're trying to cast this as we hate drag queens and we hate drag shows, and so, no. Most mature adults are capable of live and let live. The problem is when you want to drag kids into this shit.
Yeah, well, I mean, when Bush was running for re-election, I just happened to remember that was going on because of all the little lipstick lesbians with the Rolling Stones logo T-shirts that said "Let's lick Bush" at 04. and I thought that was funny. But a buddy of mine, queer as a football bat, didn't want to go to the Pride Festival by himself and asked me to go with him. And I was like, whoa, okay, listen, we've talked about this, buddy. I'm flattered. It's not my thing. He said, no, Chris, I'm not hitting on you. I don't want to go by myself. I want somebody to go with me, so I feel safe and I'm not just alone. I mean, I'll buy you drinks. Okay, I'm down. And I saw RuPaul sing "It's Raining Men," and it was hilarious. And I got hit on a bunch. And some of my gay buddies that were there with me were running interference to hilarious extents. Frankly, I wish I had the whole thing on video because it was hilarious. And guess what?
And probably not YouTube friendly.
No children.
Yeah.
This was in Savannah by the river. We had a blast. And there were no children. It was 21 and up. For a reason. But no. I've had to have conversations with my children who are 12, 10, 8, and 3. Okay, so I haven't had to have a whole lot of conversation about this with the 3-year-old. But the others, they hear things at school. I mean, we homeschool, but we do some work with a homeschool co-op so that they get to have friends and play with other kids, and they hear things and ask questions. And I have to have conversations with my children that I never had to have with my parents when I was a kid. Mom says our dubbing is way off. I have no idea what could cause that.
I had to push the button twice this morning. It could be that there's a delay.
There might be some weirdness there. I'm gonna stop the recording piece because I don't think we're gonna chop anything out of this episode anyway. Maybe that'll free up some resources and get it back online. Danny points out.
Wait, no. Based on the way that's written, I've got to read that. Gays against groomers, they are fighting back. Yes, that was Yoda's voice all day. Like I read that and heard it in Yoda's voice.
And Steve Rodemeyer asks, "What about that free admission to Club One for drag outfits?" I'm not sure if I remember that quite the same way. I never went to anything like that in drag. I did go to Club One and see Lady Chablis a couple times, and Frank was a hell of a performer. And I did for a little while work as a bouncer at a fetish club that had a deal where if you showed up in drag, you got it for free. And I the dude showed up and he looked like a dude in a dress, and I told him, "You look like a dude in a dress. The policy is for drag queens. You don't qualify. Go fix your makeup, sunshine." And it was all in good fun. But again, 21 and up.
Yeah,
right?
adults.
They hired a giant, scary-looking dude to guard the door to prevent people from bringing children. Right? So let's take a look at some of the takes from. I haven't even read this Reuters article yet. Let's see how they handle it. Tennessee takes lead in Republican effort to restrict drag shows.
Good.
Okay, that sentence is technically correct, except it's not to restrict the performance of drag shows generally. It's to restrict the access of children to drag shows, or more correctly stated, and this is important, to restrict the access of perverts to children. U.S. drag queen Peppermint performs during the 31st annual Gay and Lesbian Mardi Gras Parade in Central Sydney, March, where there are children. Right? See, that's another piece of this. Have you seen the Pride parades?
Yeah, it's confusing. You know what just confused me?
The Pride parades include people at a minimum scantily, and I mean scandalously scantily clad, performing simulated sex acts, not just in public, but while their organizations actively encourage bringing your children to the performance, right? So, the Mardi Gras parade, yes, that's viewable by children. Children are there. Tennessee lawmakers passed a bill on Thursday restricting drag performances in public or in front of children, putting the state at the forefront of a Republican-led effort to limit drag in at least 15 states in recent months. The more than 20 bills nationwide are a pushback against modern drag, which has grown from an underground performance art using costumes and makeup to play with gender norms, which flourished in lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender, to a mainstream entertainment, helped in part by the popularity of the televised pageant show RuPaul's Drag Race. Okay, this is a disingenuous, technically correct statement. Which has grown from an underground performance art and to a mainstream entertainment. Okay, let me ask you this. If the show is intended for straight audiences, and the show in question is in the public square where a woman takes off her clothing and then a man simulates intercourse with her, is that different than a homosexual exhibition of the same sort? Now, meaningfully, yes, it is. But for the purposes of exposing it to children, why is the less perverse, less deviant of the two the one that is restricted by law? And the answer to that question is this. They are both already restricted by law. So something that you need to be clear on, the Tennessee law doesn't actually do anything, because what it does is it says that if you're doing homosexual or fetishized stripping, cabaret, go-go dancing, any of that type of stuff, if you're doing non-heterosexual pornographic public display, then it should be treated the same as if you were performing pornographic heterosexual displays. The law is already clear. Having sex in public generally is unlawful. It is an offense. To perform simulated sex acts in public is already unlawful. It's already illegal. The drag shows where they've got a couple of guys dressed as women and then performing sex acts on one another, they want you to think that you've just got the only thing that people are concerned about is dudes in dresses reading storybooks to children. But that's not the extent of it. Now, that's reprehensible and obnoxious, because even there, it's not just a dude in a dress reading storybooks to children. It's a dude in a dress reading storybooks that are pro-deviance to children. It's a dude in a dress taking a group of children at taxpayer expense and propagandizing them into a deviant sexual activity.
Your dad just got top comment. If there were no laws, there wouldn't be such displays.
That's actually true. And yeah, we'll throw a top comment at the old man for that.
That is. So, but here's the thing. People are misrepresenting this Tennessee bill. Oh, it's all these terrible things, and they're trying to make it hard on the... And it's vague, Chris.
Yeah,
Wikipedia says.
I want to show you the Wikipedia entry on this. Tennessee Bill 3, known as the Tennessee Drag Ban, is an anti-drag bill which bans public adult cabaret performances in the state of Tennessee. And pay attention to this sentence right here. The bill is vague in what it considers an adult cabaret performance. Is it? I happen to have the full text of the bill right here. And,
too much.
You got,
not enough.
What in the hell? This is what I'm looking for. Something like that, where you read it. First, I want to say I applaud the Tennessee legislature for this one thing alone. Watch. That's it.
The bill.
That's the whole bill.
That's the bill. Like,
right? Remember when people were arguing about the content of the Green New Deal? It was 7 pages. If you didn't have time to read it, you don't deserve to comment on it. And it was 7 pages of, let's be frank, low-level reading content. Okay, so be it enacted in the General Assembly of the State of Tennessee, Tennessee Code annotated, blah, 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 blah. The following language as a new subdivision, adult cabaret performance. Remember, this bill is incredibly vague about what adult cabaret performance is. Adult cabaret performance means a performance at a location other than an adult cabaret that features topless dancers, go-go dancers, exotic dancers, strippers, male or female impersonators, I love that language, who provide entertainment that appeals to a prurient interest or similar entertainers regardless of whether or not performed for consideration, which is to say of whether or not they're getting tips, whether or not they're being paid to break the law and perform lewd acts in front of an audience. And the best wife in the world just came with coffee.
that was disgusting.
I bet.
Hey,
that's your AM, BFM, ASMR for you, ladies and gentlemen. Congratulations, you've survived.
What is? Hey, Chris,
Coffee behind you.
what does prurient mean?
Illicit, deviant, sexual in nature.
Oh, so in other words,
I spilled coffee behind you.
oh, thanks. Oh, thanks.
Yes.
So in other words, the bill is.
Patrick says howdy.
So in other words, the bill is crystal clear.
Yeah, absolutely. And it goes on. It is an offense for a person to engage in an adult cabaret performance, A, on public property, or B, in a location where the adult cabaret performance could be viewed by a person who is not an adult.
Again, that all seems crystal clear. We were talking
and like
about...
I said, it doesn't change anything. What the bill says is you can't have sex in front of children.
Well, there's two things that this makes me think of. One is the Florida bill where they're like, no, a child has to be older than 3rd grade before you can have like sex education. And I'm like, who needed that?
Right.
And then the second thing,
if somebody needed to tell you, you need to wait until a child is over 8 years old to start encouraging them to have anal sex.
like, and then the second thing is we were talking about before the shows, like, if it takes more than 10 pages to explain, it probably shouldn't exist.
Correct.
Oh, well, that means we'd have to get rid of the IRS and the EPA. And no, I'm already sold. You don't need to talk me into it. If it takes more than 10 pages, we don't need it. Like, period. And Steve even said...
You know what else took more than 10 pages? The welfare state.
Yeah, seriously, things that are that long are supposed to be fiction novels.
Correct.
Oh, did I just make a point? I feel like I just made a point.
A point which one might go so far as to call Heinleinian.
Wow, okay. The jokes are having layers. They're having layers on top of layers.
We eat cake here.
But the thing is, why did this even need to be a bill? Okay.
Right.
There's Blair White had a tweet recently where, and Blair White's the only one I'm going to refer to as a she, just for the purposes of this discussion. But Blair White had a tweet recently where she laid out in great detail that, look, I am an LGBTQ activist, okay? I've been on the front lines of this movement, and I have tried to tell you guys over and over again, we could basically have whatever we want if we'll stay the fuck away from the children. But if you go after the children, there's gonna be a problem. And now these bills are coming out. Like, where is it? Utah that is passing a bill that says you can't do transgender stuff to minors.
Utah, Iowa, Wisconsin all have bills pending that will ban the mutilation of underage genitalia.
Well, all this stuff is coming out, and you could call it a backlash, but all this stuff is coming out as a reasonable backlash, as Blair White points out. Like, this was predictable. This is not them being bigoted. This is them protecting their children because you guys couldn't. Basically, the LGBTQ whatever community,
The alphabet people.
the alphabet people, they've had all the wins, they've had all the dubs, and it just wasn't enough, and they had to keep going and keep going and keep going, and now you have these bills as pushback because, like, we again with the Florida thing, like, what? Why did you need to be told not to talk to second graders about sex? In what psychotic world did you not already understand that that was a terrible idea? But obviously it needs to be done because of the social contagion factor with the TikTok and everything else. And people, I've seen it recently on Twitter. I was telling you about Hunter Avalone arguing with Matt Walsh saying, no. Puberty blockers are largely reversible.
Yeah, that's.
Bro, no, they're not. They're not. If your body,
We have the science on that.
if your body at 12 years old decides, for the next 2 years we need to kick this puberty thing into high gear, you don't get those 2 years back.
Correct.
Like, not even a little bit. You don't get those 2 years back. And instead, I mean, all the problems that come along with it, you're more likely to get all forms of cancer, and you're probably not going to live as long, even if you don't eat a bullet. And then there's the stuff that we talked about yesterday, where
Or anything you cut off. That's right. You can't grow back anything you cut off.
yeah, we're not starfish.
That's not the way that works, my friend. Pucker the starfish will not save you on this one.
Yeah, you put all that together, and then
you mentioned the social contagion on TikTok. We covered the science, the articles on TikTok ticks. There are young adults and children who are literally catching essentially performative multiple personality disorders from watching TikTok content about the subject matter. They go on, they watch 18 hours of cute and funny cosplay and performative art by somebody claiming to have multiple personalities, and all of a sudden they've got an alter ego. That is a thing that has occurred, and the science on that, the psychologists and psychiatrists that were discussing that and conducting that science, they said once we remove TikTok, not social media generally. They were very clear, specifically TikTok from the equation. The condition cleared up within several months. But what's really fascinating there is not immediately. They didn't switch off TikTok and say, no, you don't have a severe mental disorder. You've been confused by this material. And the person says, oh, I get that. No, they switched off TikTok. And then essentially they had an intellectual detoxification over time. And it was a long period of time. It was several months that it took them to lose the tics.
Yeah. I'm going to assume the guy from Twitch is called D's Nuts California, which, God, I love Twitch names. We see your comments there, sir. What are the pros and cons of book banning? A pro would be that a book banning prevents exposing children to sexual or violent topics outside of church. They're calling it book banning, and we didn't even get to the stuff with DeSantis, like the video about look at all these empty library shelves, and it turns out that somebody that worked for the district had pulled all the books out and then taken pictures of empty shelves, and they actually ended up getting fired for fraud, and rightly so. It's not book banning. Okay, I'd even be willing to allow for some pretty explicit material to go into high schools. But in high schools, because let's face it, those kids are already thinking about sex. But again, like, why the 8-year-olds? The fuck is wrong with you guys? How do you not understand the difference between a 16-year-old and an 8-year-old? I can tell the difference. So it's not even a book ban. It's that the book never should have been in that library in the first place.
So let me tell you everything you need to know about the so-called book banning in Florida. Ron DeSantis, it was either yesterday or the day before, did a public live stream where he brought the books in question.
Yes, I heard about this. What a boss move.
And talked about them. And he held the books up on a live stream and displayed the pornographic images, the illicit images, right? Yes. And explained, this is why we don't want this material shown to our children, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Twitter, where I promise right now you can go and find pornography without going to a great deal of effort to do so, removed the live stream, censored the live stream under the banner that it was inappropriate sexual content. So, if Twitter, where you can view pornography, finds these books to be inappropriate for the viewing by adults, consenting informed adults, to be a violation of community guidelines.
You know, Twitter wasn't the only one that
cannot say that you should be allowed to show these things to children.
Well, Twitter wasn't the only one that had to cut out. There was a whole bunch of national media that decided to cut out of that presser because, oh no, we can't show this to a general audience. Wait. You can't show it to a general audience, but you can show it to children.
Now, I contend this. It is not the content itself that Twitter or the press objected to and felt that could not be shown to a general audience.
No, it's the truth.
It was the fact that, exactly, it was the fact that seeing the material itself would convince any reasonable adult that, oh, I see. Yes, okay. If Ron DeSantis book ban, if Florida removing pornography from schools is somehow violative of some protected rights, then I contend this. No more TV or movie ratings. No more parental warning stickers on rap CDs. No more. Movies will not be rated G, PG, PG-13, or R. Because if it is your contention that children should be given pornography in schools, then your contention is that even up to NC-17, XXX, and beyond, your argument is that we should have snuff films in public theaters. Because your argument is that there is no line which can be crossed.
So, long story short, these laws that states are passing, thank God for the 10th Amendment. The older I get, the more I believe that may have been the most genius of all the amendments because of this exact stuff right here. Oh, okay, the federal government wants to push all this crap. Cool. We'll just
I'm rapidly coming to the opinion that we should take the first, second, fourth, fifth, sixth, and 10th and abolish the rest.
Well, wait a minute. What about the 19th Amendment? That one's so important.
I also just got rid of cruel and unusual punishment bans. But I retained trial by jury of peers and the right to face your accuser.
Dave, tell me you're from a certain generation without actually telling me you're from a certain generation.
The Sears catalog. That's just lawnmower parts and big girl panties. I weep for you, my man.
Hey, but if that's all you had,
yeah, I mean, work with what you got. Sometimes you got to put that bud in a cored apple.
Well, I'll just real quick though. Dave touches on something. There's the other aspect of it. The hypersexualization of a young person is terrible for their basically for their entire mental development. When you were encouraged to have zero or a low number of sexual partners, and then you got married, and had most of the sex you were ever going to have in your life with one person you were in a committed relationship with, there was a lot of novelty to explore with your life partner, right? But now, man, now all that's gone, and that's not a good thing, okay? It's the sexual equivalent of being brought up of eating nothing but like double Dutch chocolate ice cream.
Hey, babe, I saw him do this thing in this video. Oh yeah, babe, I saw that video too. I don't know. It looked like a lot of work.
And then Jilly's Jules says the parents that take kids to drag shows and the parents who are trans, their little ones need mental health. Problem is our mental health care system is a mess too. I don't know that I would say that our mental health care system is a mess. That's a two-pronged problem that I've actually got some thoughts on. But super long story short, we have to be willing to call gender dysphoria a mental health issue. And just saying that sentence threatens a YouTube strike. So, you know.
Find us on Rumble. We love you, and we'll see you tomorrow.
There you go.
Firearms. It is Firearms Friday tomorrow, right?
Yeah, all day.
Oh, yeah, the trash went out this morning. Firearms Friday tomorrow.
Right.
Roger that. Love you. Okay, real quick. D's Nuts, California. This broadcast is like a study into Freudian psychology. Then, my man, I recommend you bring a cigar.